And we'll begin with a short salutation to the Triple Gems and chanting, and then a meditation. And today I'm going to look at some of the questions that have been presented to me via Dhamma tracks, and I think that will probably take up the time that we have. Yoso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Swakato Yena Bhagavata Dhammo Supatipanno Yasa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Dhammayam Bhagavandam Sadhammang Sasangham Ime Sagare Yatarahang Arobide Abepujayama Satuno Bande Bhagava Sujira Barini Buddhopi Bhajima Janadanagamba Manasa Ime Sagare Dukadavana Karabonde Patigan Hatu Hamaham Dikaratam Hidaya Sukhaya Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavandam Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Andamayam Buddhasa Bhagavato Pupavakanamakranangaroma Se Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Okay. So, some inner cultivation. Really, it always comes down to settling and investigating are the two fundamental themes. Sometimes we settle with a quality, well, settling always has to have a quality of kindness and goodwill. Cherishing something, cherishing your own heart. At least being respectful to it. You can't cherish it. At least not being averse to it. Or if there is aversion, then trying to be more, relaxing some of that. And why we often come into the body, because the body can relax some of our agitation that makes the heart difficult, some of the tension that makes the heart difficult. We might have residual irritations that make the heart difficult to open, so we settle into the body. Yeah, at least this body we can say, may this be well. and the heart will naturally open with that. The whole body, sense of being present, the presence of that internally. Externally, it's the sensations, it's contacting what you're sitting on or the space around you. It's the external aspect, which can be quite beautiful, quiet, simple. Internal aspect, the dynamics of the body. It's feeling healthy or vibrant or stagnant or sick. You can't see this with your eye, but this is the inner dynamic of the body. So externally it can be all there, but internally it can be, like a lot up in the head, a lot in the chest, tight, tangled, internal body. So we access this breathing which connects the two. The breathing connects us to the external, we bring in freshness from the external and breathe it through this body, embodied condition. Because it can relax, refresh, also just clear in its own way. So using that vehicle rather than an act of the will, where we react to our experience. We're not reacting to it, we're acknowledging it and then breathing through it. This itself is already an act of goodwill, because in this we are quite willing. The breathing is always very willing to be with wherever you are. It's not resistant, it's not criticizing, it's breathing through. So it already has this quality of goodwill. An inquiry is an exploration feeling, a felt experience. Can you feel your breath? How far does that go down your body? Does it completely descend? So, does it completely fill you? Fill your presence? Is there something you can relax to allow the breathing to, the energy of breathing to completely saturate you? Can you give yourself to it and the rhythm of it? It's like water cleaning the body. Behind the eyes, the face particularly, very important to wash the face internally, loosen all the muscles, expansion behind the nose, nasal cavities, throat, up into the eyes, the temples, even the forehead. A certain, just even that degree of presence, not deeply concentrated, but you can obviously you can begin to recognize how the mind, mental energy splits off. It pushes, it frets, it resists, it goes off into different directions. It has different agendas. Quite normal. Okay, so you're feeling this splitting off as a kind of like a restless, unsettled energy. Yeah, don't get into the words of it. Mind's very good at words. The feeling of something struggling, resisting, scrambling, okay, and being aware of that, and extending the quality of goodwill, embodied goodwill, to include. So you can't really draw the mind back. Well, you can, but you can also expand your awareness to include. So you feel that which often calls itself yourself, me. Bringing me back into the body, back into this embodied state. By expanding your embodied awareness to include it. You may find that that me lives in your head, could be in your chest or your abdomen. Wherever it is, breathing through it, breathing into it. It's a tension, it's a kind of tension. Which you can be aware of. how it affects your bodily condition. And then we're extending the more breathed bodily condition to include or fight or resist that. And you'll find certain emotions will become more manifest. You can find the defender, you can find the person who feels overwhelmed or afflicted, too much to do, other people, busy. All these aspects that we call myself are really energies restlessly running around. And we room for this too. All this is in your presence. It is in your presence. But you be consciously, willingly present. Breathing through it. So let's lift your attention from that, or stay with it if you wish. And I'll touch into a few questions. And just stay in your listening and see what seems relevant to you. Maybe one topic might arouse your interest. It's all happening. All of it's happening. So all of it is practice, right? All of it, you're aware of all of it as it's happening. Are you, oh, I want this, more of that, less of that, hurry up, don't you? Well, just giving yourself to experience in this safe connection. Yeah. It's all happening. So okay. A couple of finally you know, external topics. One is someone's reading a book I've written on Anapanasati called Breathing Like a Buddha. Any plans to physical copies? This is printed. So if you want a copy, you can contact Chittaviveka Monastery. You'll find it on our website. You can request a copy. Or Amaravati, if you're, depending where you are, if you're in the United States, Temple Monastery or Abhayagiri Monastery would have them. A distribution network is a little bit scanty, but this is what we can do. I try to take them with me when I travel, but have a look. And the monasteries, many of the monasteries will have a copy of this book. Someone's expressing gratitude and would like to send me dana. Dana means generosity. Well, the act of appreciation is an act of generosity. It supports, encourages my practice. But often you want to make some contribution to my welfare or something like that. The way this happens is we have trusts that receive, because I don't receive money. So we have trusts, Chittaviveka Trust. You can apply to them, and there's a page on the website you can make a donation. If you want to direct it specifically to me, you have to send a note. And often what I mostly do with these now is I use them to print books. So it all turns around, really, because this is how books get printed, is through dana. You don't sell them, and it's often people just chipping in. You build up a fund, and then you can use it. And that's how it works. So what goes round comes round, as they say. And of course, that's beautiful because, we want to keep the sharing going. I don't particularly want to hoard a lot of stuff for myself. It gives me joy to help the sharing and the development of Dhamma continue. But totally as you wish, because that's the way it is. It comes straight from the heart. Okay, now some topics on practice. The couple of topics I looked at are called these are more dealing with the territory. Somebody's asking, when I refer to the energy body, is that equivalent to the embodied sense of self? And self is a kind of a bit of a questionable term because there seem to be quite a few of them, as you might have noticed. They have different flavors, identification. You could say it's your embodied sense of presence. So if you see you're feeling really present here, it's not just an idea, but you can really get some sense of, that's an embodied sense. And it's to do with where your nervous energy is, you might say. If your nervous energy is settled, you get that sense of it's all collected here. And then you can really use it because your energy is collected. This is the first basis of meditation, is to collect your energy some way so that you can use it. And often the home base of embodied energy is the breathing. I don't mean the air, I mean the quality of vitality that suffuses the body as you breathe. And that means your presence can be extremely bright. It can change quite dramatically. That's why it's not exactly a self, it's more like a presence. And the presence can come from something just fairly, so what, into something really quite refined and beautiful. It can be extremely light and spacious. So it's a rather beautiful field to cultivate just for its own pleasure and happiness, but also it gives you insight into clunky, tangled stuff that we normally operate through, and how to perhaps find another basis of operating and living. This is your home base. Keep it clean and bright. It's going to do you. It doesn't harbour ill will and negative states. It tends to harbour goodwill and positive states. So, person asks about. I mentioned that I spoke about the space within and without the body where mental formations form. What do you mean by that? Well, I don't quite know what I meant at the time, but what I would say is that one of the really big problems is that mental formations, which are like these packets of mental energy, like emotional tangles, you get scripts running, stories running, it gets into a whole thing. So much so that you can be fairly oblivious to where you're sitting. It's gone. You're out there in some drama. So in that way, it's actually left your bodily presence. Your presence is kind of everywhere, but when it means you're not even aware of being a body because you're so involved with your thoughts and worries and desires and so forth, that this whole thing has got a life of its own, like a dream state. This is when you could say it's beginning to separate from your bodily presence. When it's collected in, then you may feel the same sense of movements and disturbances, and now, that's just right there. You can use your body to sort of anchor it and steady it. This is normal stuff. When it gets really serious is when this mental energy so splits off that we think it's spirits are invading me. Alien forces are coming at me because the mental energy is completely split off. It splits off because it's extremely disturbed. So you get disturbing mental energies. We experience them as, alien forces, spirits from all the world are attacking me. And then it gets really dangerous. People can get psychotic experiences where the mental energy is completely, separated from the here and now of embodiment. And, and it's well, you look around, with people doing crazy things, utterly crazy things. You think acts of incredible violence and torture and hatred, are demonic, because it is. This is when the chitta has become so disordered, its energy is split off from the central grounding axis, and it's taken a life of its own. And it can easily it's always associated with disconnected states, sometimes extremely unwholesome states. Then it's outside. And then we've really got to, takes quite a lot of practice to, to keep bringing it back in. So this is perhaps one way of looking at what I'm talking about. The average person finds that their mental life kind of swings out, but it's not completely out of reach. They can, okay, where am I? Let's take a breath and settle back in again. Then it doesn't go far. When it's completely within, then the mental energy and the body energy begin to melt together, right? Just imagine two things that seem separate. Your body's just breathing, your mind's doing this. And as the mind calms down, it sort of begins to settle into the bodily energy till your mind and your body are no longer separate as energies. There's just a sense of, and that's considered extremely fortunate, called rapture and ease, where your chitta, your heart, is kind of suffusing your entire body with happiness and comfort. And then it's completely, merged into the body presence, but it's still mental in the extent that it can kind of discern with wisdom, or let's just take it a bit steady, or or calming or easing. So it still is mental, but it's now deeply involved and merged into the body. This is deep meditation. Okay, too long on that. It's great. Yeah, this is a great thing to do. Someone's asking about the phrases. These occur in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, where the Buddha says, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. Well, these are translations of the Pali words jnana, chakkung, jnana, panya, vidya, aloka. So these are all words that the Buddha's using to describe the realization experience. Yeah. So sometimes say, what is this thing called awareness? Because what is this thing? Well, it's a number of things depending on how deep it is. Like we say, what is water? Is water steam? Is it ice? Is it seawater? What is it? It can vary, and yet it's always water. Yeah. So awareness can be experienced as this sense of, panya, which is a little more discerning, jnana, which is to do with really recognizing, chakkung, vision, seeing, vidya, clarity, and light. There's a certain luminosity to it. And these are all expressions of the state of realization, which is called anya. So that's the realization where enlightenment, so to some degree or another, occurs. Anyway, let's get on. So that's kind of lovely, isn't it, to just even consider these things. These things are possible. What causes unskillful behavior or thought to arise, and what causes it to stop? Sometimes I recognize it's happening, but it's often after it's happened. Yeah, I know what you mean. This creates remorse. Usually leads to depression. Is it necessary to psychoanalyze the roots of these unskillful actions? This sometimes leads to falling down the rabbit hole. I think I know what you mean. You can get very, this is because of that, this is because of that, it shouldn't be this, it should be that. This, really, and is it actually leading you out? To a certain, so Dhamma Vidya investigation and self-scrutiny is recommended, but you start really where you are right now. So where you are right now, you can't go back. You can't undo what you did. But the fundamental problem is heedlessness. It means we weren't really totally attentive to the mind, and that's to be under quite, there's too many things going on. We're not attending to the quality of the mind internally when it's getting stressed or agitated. Yeah, the internal quality of the mind is stressed, dry, agitated, intense, foggy. Instead, we're giving attention to the external quality, which is the behavior. Do this, do that, do this, do that. And this is imbalanced. So you really want to try to make more attempts to connect our behavior, our mental behavior, which comes out in the way we speak and we act, to the mental essence. That is, my mind is composed and not hard and rigid. And from there, I can act skillfully. If your mind is not in a good state, it's very difficult to get skillful behavior going. So you always got to address that. Now, when you have, as we do, made an error, the Buddha says it's great, it's considered great progress to acknowledge one has made an error. This is called progress, because then it does encourage this sense of, what was that? It also encourages the recognition that everything I do counts. I must be more careful. and that there is this fundamental ethical sensitivity that you can't get away from. And if you don't live in line with it, it will tell you. You'll be hurt. You'll feel disgraced. You'll feel you've lost yourself. So there's a sensitivity here that must be respected. Now we start with remorse. Okay, that's where you may have that remorse. What do we do with remorse? How does it feel? Okay, so just being present with the quality of remorse. Now you may want to get rid of it, make amends, stop, don't react. Feel the quality of remorse. Where does it take you? Now you might start complaining about yourself. Stop. Don't do that. Instead, begin to experience a sense of sadness, maybe. And feel it more fully. And don't think about it. Feel the feeling more fully. Eventually you come to a place of something like humility, okay, equanimity, and then energy comes back. Now you must proceed with goodwill. Till you've got the goodwill going, right in here, not just constructive, but it comes up by itself. Then we get compassion, and then we can begin to address what we've done. If we've hurt other people, now's the chance to begin to refer to them verbally, or at least in your heart, and begin to feel you can clear the results of past actions. And this is certainly the way that friendships deepen. Friendships deepen when we acknowledge our mistakes, because it takes a lot of honesty to acknowledge a fault. And when you acknowledge a fault, another person thinks, this is a person of some quality and honesty, good for them, So then you get much stronger friendships. Just constantly criticizing yourself is not going to do you any good. You've got to take remorse until it turns into a sense of some sober sadness, and then the wish to do good, and the quality of goodwill, and then let that guide you. Catch it where you can. And the more you cultivate like that, by itself, that would tend to create a much firmer basis for your heart, to mean that when unskillful impulses begin to stir, you get there. Wait a minute, stop, check, relax that quickly, because you're right there. You live in your heart much, because you have made your heart great through the acknowledgement of ill will, the beginning to get the goodwill to generate. That makes the heart strong and rich. Therefore, you live in it more fully. Therefore, you're more attentive when the hindrances and defilements start to arise, and you can catch them before they leap out. Now, if you criticize and averse yourself, that doesn't strengthen your heart. And though you may criticize yourself constantly, you will still make lots of mistakes because you haven't strengthened your heart. Criticism doesn't strengthen you. So, someone's question about working for the benefit of other people without confusing this with people pleasing. That is, the person says they've tried to overdo just trying to be nice to people, and maybe stifling what they really experience. I want to step into an easier relationship with myself, where I'm not so fearful of making mistakes and hurting others. Good. Yeah. Hurting others. So, and we like to not hurt others. Well, who are these others right now? Where are they? And who is this? Who are you? Who are you in relationship? Who are you when you see someone else? What happens to your presence when you see or think of somebody else? You get, oh, that's really nice, or I've got to do something, or oh no. What happens when you experience the presence of another person, or even think about them? You get agitated. I expect most of us get a little bit of activation. Catch that. That's a reflex. That's a reaction. Not bad, but it's a reaction. Now you don't know. You see a form. You don't actually know another person. You know what that perception triggers in you. Maybe you feel you're a bit worried. You feel you're not good enough. Therefore, you should need to do more. Let's see what happens in that, and begin to relax all those compulsive do-its, and you'll find that what replaces all that is just a steady, warm openness. That's what other people will pick it up. So, kind of following on from that to a degree, person finds it difficult in a busy day to turn the mind from outside to inside, as I think I've just been suggesting, and to embody the emotion. When we're in an active environment with many people around us and many encounters with other people, short time frame, family gathering, troubleshooting session with colleagues, decision work, lots of people around, how do I stay this internal quality when so much seems to be happening externally? How do I manage that? Well, pause. Pause. It's 10 seconds. And just bear in mind, when your external situation is a shared one, isn't it? There's other people. So it's not entirely up to you to make it work. If there's 6 people, you can't make it work for 6, but you can make, right? Because there's 6 people there. And maybe you think you're going to make it all work or come to an answer or get everybody settled. Or that's 6 to 1. Is it up to you to make everything work for others? Is it up to you to cover everything for others? Can you do that? Or do you just get scrambled? Do you find yourself getting a bit resentful for other people? All these people, so much to do. Do you find yourself, oh, why isn't she doing this? Why do they do that? My husband never does this. My daughter doesn't turn up on time. Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? I've got to do all the thing here. Do you get like that? That's not good, is it? Do they ask you to do that? Do they say, no, I don't think they want you to do that. Why don't you just stop? And maybe if you pause and just experience the quality, maybe it's, well, I'm okay, I'm fine here, open, and let's see what's going to happen. Let your presence do the work rather than yourself. Because your presence quality of presence actually it's not your self, your what you think you are. It's not that active agitation in your mind. It's not those sets of reactions and reflexes and customs and habits. It's something much more right here now. So we might think, actually, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, let's relax with that. Maybe that's okay. And see what other people are doing. See what happens when we're just open, receptive. Perhaps we can start to negotiate. Now, I've agreed, this is pretty profound change in terms of behavior. Certainly your body will help, because the externally internal body are much closer than the externally internal mind. The external mind can completely separate from the internal mind. We can be acting without really any awareness of what our mind is feeling like. But when you move your body around, that sensitivity comes with it. So more we're actually able to just use the body both as an anchor, and it will tell you what's happening in your mind. You don't feel comfortable, do you? You feel agitated, don't you? Take a breath, won't you? Only take a breath. Okay. You think there's so much to do. You think you've got to figure this out. Just take a breath. You can only do one thing at a time. The first thing to do is stop doing things. And that's the first thing. And then your actions will come from that in a much more natural and good-natured way. Person, as many of us do, talks about their sense of self. Big topic. There's constant discussions, comments about past events, judgments. If it was tight in my body, obstructs the flow of movement. It fidgets. It's going all over everywhere. What do I do with this sense of self? Listening to the place of the heart isn't easy at all, especially when trying to make it stay in what's good for its own welfare, for chitta's own welfare. Well, as I said, this sense of self is quite a chameleon. It shifts around. It's mercurial. It's a conjurer. It jumps because it's not really a person at all. It's sets of reactions and reflexes and habits and customs. And as you said, it's discussions, because that's what it does. That's not you. That's a set of reactions, reflexes, habits. It's called karma. Old karma, sankhara. That's not. Now, you can be aware of that. You are aware of it. You've mentioned it. Right? You've mentioned it, and you don't really like it very much, do you? Maybe that's where you have to begin, because you not liking it and trying to make it behave is not good. Yeah, because it becomes another self, right? It's like you have a bag full of puppies, little puppies jumping around, right? Growling and snapping. So you think you throw another puppy into the bag to make the others quieten down. It doesn't, right? Right? So you keep throwing more puppies in. You throw a Buddhist puppy in. Tell that self to shut up, behave itself. Throw another puppy into there. It starts quarreling with the others. So you get this incredible tangle, and none of them could do it because they're all puppies. That's the nature of puppies. But the bag doesn't mind. Bag, throw another puppy in, that's okay. Bag doesn't mind. What's aware of yourself? What's aware of that self? Could that which is aware of yourself acknowledge, I'm aware of myself? What's that? What is it's aware of myself? What does it feel like? What is it? What does it feel like? Don't think it, try to feel it. Is it big, small, bright, dark? What is it aware of myself? Don't think it, feel it. And when that which is aware of myself can turn towards myself, not as a puppy, but as an ever-expanding bag, those reactions start to quieten down. You may feel them in your body. You may say, oh, something in the chest releases. I didn't do that, it just happened. An emotion moves through you. Oh, I feel better now. Because all that energy of self, which you call yourself, when you're not fighting with it, and it's expanding your awareness around it, it begins to change and resolve and settle, and emotional, somatic experience goes along with that. So you notice it's always associated with a certain degree of intensity of will. I want, I don't want. I want to make things happen. I want to stop thinking. I want to be a better self. Why doesn't my self behave? This is the sound of it. This is the sound. This is the energy of it. That energy, you go, expand. Awareness around that. It's okay. It's the main thing. Buddha said to, resolve this self is easier, is more difficult than getting past 100 warriors in battle. Because this one you can't use a sword with. This one, the only thing that works is affectionate curiosity and awareness. And that's the thing we don't see, we don't make use of. Well, we seem to be coming to the end of our time, but person talks, they ask about adhitthana, resolution, making a resolution, and how do I follow Ajahn Sucitto's recommendation to hold intentions that are enriching and to ward off vacillation, wavering, on one hand, and goal seeking on the other hand. This is difficult. Well, you've got to make reasonable, since we live often in varying degrees of reactivity, from, got to get things done, got to make things work, should be a better person, or it's reaction, even coming to panic. You've got to resolve simplicity. That's a good resolution. Just simply meet what arises. Meet what arises. Embody it, approach it not from your mind but from your heart. Not from your thinking mind, not from your I want to make this happen, but feeling this is what I can stand for. I can stand on harmlessness. So you exercise adhitthana by taking the precepts externally and also feeling them internally. Okay, I cannot resolve to be enlightened, but I can resolve, make a resolution for harmlessness. What does the quality of harmlessness feel like? Gentle, open, no edges to it, no sharpness, strong, but loving. That's the first precept. Can I feel that? That's a good resolution to make. Resolution to just not distract. What's it like to experience a sense of, okay, just steady, very important, my welfare, steadiness, collectedness, plenty of things like just enough of that. Firmness, get the feeling for it. If you go through the precepts carefully and practice their internal qualities, then you'll begin to get a sense. This is where adhitthana, builds up. You can't sort of, I resolve to give up coffee or something. If you want, yeah. But, don't try to get much more basic and simple about resolving to dwell in your heart and to follow, to understand the nature of goodness, the nature of refuge, the nature of Dhamma as you experience it internally in this very simple fivefold way. If you really embody and feel the precepts, you will have learned an enormous amount of Dhamma in that simple way. They're not difficult concepts. Experience the qualities of them. You'll feel the fullness, the strength, the vigor, the cleanliness, and the warmth of the heart. And this is what you want to be with. It's not because it's not an act of will. It's like you want to be with it because it feels good. It feels good, it makes you good, and it gives you strength. So this is easy, but it takes resolution, it takes practicing it to make it something that you really feel that naturally you're inclined to resolve that. And whenever it's lost, as I was saying earlier, you think, wait a minute, what happened? You go back again and rebuild it. This is a very, simple everyday way to develop that and the value of it. Something we should practice every day is recollecting the felt sense of our precepts, our virtues and values. This is what puja is about. This is about why we do these things in Pali, because it gives a certain sense of solemnity to the occasion, but we internalize it. Then there's a basis for, then you know, and you know how to make a resolution by reflecting on the internal qualities that you want to sustain and acknowledging the internal influences that you want to be free from. Stabilizing that however you can, it will firm up for you. Make it possible. As one other questioner says, mentioning Ajahn Mun, about you can only practice in line with yourself. Well, you're not quite with your temperament, he says. So, this person said they got a very difficult mind, doesn't settle down. Okay, will you practice in line with that? Resolving, witnessing it, steadying it, caring for it, asking what's useful for it, and you practice in line with that. Truly one who reviews themselves, is a friend to themselves, does not disregard themselves, but does not follow themselves either. This is a person who is living skillfully and who is heading for liberation. So, thank you for your questions, and I hope some of this has been useful, and useful not for just the questioners, but also for other people. I think all these topics have broad resonances for all of us. So, as we have now, finished our hour, and I expect you have other things to do. We'll take leave now and close with a little closing salutation to the Triple Gem.
Andmayam Dhammakataya Sadukaram Dadamase Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu Hanumodami.
Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavandam Aviva Devi Swapato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namah.
Allow now, as we leave from you, to pay respects to you and wish you well for the end of the Vasa in the coming few days. You know, you've continued to inspire us, and may you be kept in good health till we meet you again at the end of this month. So 3 bows, my brothers and sisters. See you.
Okay, stay in the stream, and we'll see you. Hope to see you again. Take good care.